So, welcome to our webinar. Today, we are looking at Enigma Ventures as a way of creating awareness and to encourage participants here to apply, looking at the investment opportunities offered by Enigma Ventures. So, just before I go on, I would like to introduce myself. For those that might not know me, my name is George Makore. I am the Deputy Chief of Party for the USAID Southern Africa Trade and Investment Hub. You can call us USAID Trade Hub in short. And I'm going to be just quickly running through what the USA Trade Hub does before we go into the purpose of our meeting today. So just to quickly give you an overview of who we are as the USAID Southern Africa Trade and Investment Hub and what we do. We are a USAID funded project based in Pretoria, and we operate in 8 countries in the SADC region out of the 16 SADC countries, as highlighted in the map there. Our head office is in Pretoria. That's where we are based. But we work in all the other SACU countries led by South Africa, Eswatini, Lesotho, Namibia, Botswana. So as the 5 SACU countries, as well as 3 other countries that we cover, that is Mozambique, Malawi, and Zambia. I always want to call this project the SACU +3 in terms of the number of countries that we cover. And in all those countries, we do have presence. We do have representation in all those countries. Later on in this webinar, we will be sharing with you information on who represents the project where in the countries that I've just mentioned. So what do? We work to increase sustainable economic growth and global export competitiveness and trade in Southern Africa, and specifically the countries that we work in. And how do we do that? We have 3 main objectives that guide us. The first one is looking at the 8 countries that we work in. So we're looking at the 7 countries in addition, besides South Africa, and we look at products that are being produced in those countries that do have demand in South Africa. And we link up the producers with potential buyers in South Africa to increase trade, which is our first objective. And that objective is informed by the understanding that South Africa is a big market with a huge population, and I think we're looking at about 60 million people who would need, who do have demand for some of these products that are produced in the region. At the same time, South Africa is technologically advanced. It requires raw materials that it also processes or further processes into products that will be exported to the US and other parts of the world. So that's the thinking behind us working with in the countries that we work in and on this particular objective. Linked to that objective is the issue of finding markets for products that are under the AGOA program, which is the African Growth and Opportunity Act, in all the 8 countries that we work in. And we link up suppliers or producers of those products with would be buyers in the US of those products. And we're looking at over 6,400 product lines that are AGOA eligible. So as to increase or grow exports from the 8 countries to the US, taking advantage of the opportunities offered by the or through the AGOA program. The third objective is looking at something that has really often been highlighted as a bottleneck by most of these companies that would want to do trade or export, whether it is from um, um, the one of the countries that work in out of the 7 countries, or even sometimes from South Africa itself. But our role here is to identify those bottlenecks faced by these countries, and we then identify who would be investors who would be willing to provide capital and technology to overcome these, or help these countries, companies to overcome these bottlenecks. So what we do is we identify the need in the 7 countries outside South Africa for funding, for investment, whether it is capital or technology, and we link up those companies with potential investors from South Africa that would want to extend their footprint into the region. Or again, the understanding is that South Africa is a launchpad when it comes to investors from outside the continent, and most of the investments are directed towards South Africa, and then we have those investors wanting to expand into the region. So our role is actually to link up those would be investees with potential investors. And you can see the purpose here for our webinar today also being linked to that. So going on to what the reason why we are here, let me just quickly walk us through our roadmap, so to speak, for this webinar. Just now, I'll be calling upon Dr. Golden Mahove, who is our Deputy Chief of Party, who is going to take us through today is playing the role of a moderator for this webinar. And he will then introduce to us the colleagues from Enigma who are going to be helping us with the discussion today. Dr. Golden Mahove, besides being the Chief of Party for the USAID Southern Africa Trade and Investment Hub, he is well-known expert in the area of inclusive agriculture and enterprise development, specifically using market system development approach. And he has actually been involved with a number of multi-million-dollar and multi-country programs, such as the US Southern Africa Trade and Investment Hub, where he's currently the Chief of Party. He has over 27 years in market system development in the areas that I mentioned earlier. And he is the one that is going to be taking us through today in terms of ensuring that the discussions here go.
Hi, George. Hello, George.
Yes, Golden, can you hear me?
Yes, you dropped off a bit.
Okay. Over to you, Golden.
Thank you very much, George. Good afternoon, colleagues from wherever you're joining us. Thank you very much for prioritizing this activity and joining us today. I'm Golden, as George has introduced me. And today I am very proud to introduce a leading firm that focuses on gender lens investment, an area of interest to us, one, given the profile of our region, and secondly, because of the importance of women-owned and women-run businesses. So firstly, I want to introduce Sarah Dusek, who is the co-founder and managing partner of Enygma Ventures. They are based in Cape Town, and they run a venture capital firm. Sarah comes with a lot of experience in terms of this space in particular, leading investments in different countries, as well as supporting women-owned enterprises. Along with Sarah, we've got Lelemba Piri. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, George. Okay, while we are waiting, Sarah, can I ask you to be to put on turn on your video so that they can see you? As I introduce Lelemba Piri, who is the Chief Operating Officer of Enygma Ventures. And most of you, particularly those in Zambia, you know through the company Zuna, the mobile payment platform, which she was the brains behind that particular brand. So you can see that we are in good company in terms of the panel that we have brought before us this afternoon. Lelemba, can I ask you to also join me on video?
Yes. Hi, Golden.
Hello, Lelemba, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Wonderful. Is Sarah on the line?
Yes, indeed. Great to be here with you, Golden. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much for joining us. So we are going to dialogue. We have gathered these people. And so before we start, I just wanted to speak a bit about gender lens investment and the focus that you particularly take within the SADC region, where we know typically that gender lens investment would tend to look at either women-owned enterprises, or those that are led by women, or those that are operating in value chains that impact women, or those that actually produce products or services that impact women predominantly. So tell us a bit about Enygma Ventures and where it sits within this spectrum of gender lens investment.
Thank you, Golden. It's great to be here with everyone. Thank you so much for making time today. We are a venture capital fund, and we invest, as Golden said, in women. And that means for us, we typically play in the space where either there's a woman founder or a woman-led business. So she may not be the owner of the business. The business is led by women. So that's where we sit. We typically
sorry, Sarah. Sarah, just a moment, Sarah. There's somebody who seems to be competing with you for attention. Excuse me, participants. I think for all of us to benefit fully, let us go on mute and let us, Sarah and Lelemba, take us through what they've prepared for us so that we can benefit fully. I take it that we are in agreement on that front. So thank you very much for your cooperation. Over to you, Sarah.
Excellent. Yes, I was just saying we typically don't play in the value chain space, but we play where there's women-led, women-run, women-owned and operated businesses. That's how we focus our energy and attention in this space.
Women-led, women-run, and what else?
Women-owned.
Women-owned. Okay, perfect. So can you just break those down for us in terms of what do they mean? So women-led, what would that typically look like? Women-run, what would that look like? And women-owned, I guess that's a bit more self-explanatory.
Yes, you might have a woman who's the manager of the business or the CEO of the business, or you might have several people in the sort of the leadership of the business, and you might have a significant female contingent leading the business. So for example, if you have 3 or 4 people who lead the business, maybe one of them is the managing director or the CEO, another one might be the chief operating officer or the operating manager. If there's a significant leader in the business who's really driving that business forward that's female, we will look at that.
All right. Thank you very much for that. I understand that you have got a call for applications that is open at the moment. So before we go any further, let's get that out of the way and say, what is it about and what are you looking for?
I'll let Lalemba answer that question.
Oh, so we have an open call right now until the end of April. The focus is on both women entrepreneurs who've got an innovative idea that they believe could scale into something that could create change for our post-pandemic future, or they might have an existing business as well, which they believe is at that point where it needs to scale. We are interested in looking at both of these 2 streams. And so whenever we have an open call, we don't want to limit it to just people who have existing businesses. We know that when in times like this, particularly when there's a hardship in the in the world, women particularly are being seen to find so many unique solutions that are not just impactful for the communities that we're living in, but that could be scalable and create something completely new. And so we want to put everybody in this pot to apply, because through the application process, you will learn what it is that we look for. You will be given access to so many resources that can help you along your journey, whether you end up to be one of the shortlisted people or not. And we are hand-holding you through this process to help you understand what investors such as ourselves look for. I think this is useful for any business, whether you want to raise investment right now or you are planning on raising investment in the future, to know what are investors looking for. And so would encourage any woman that's on the call and within your networks, if it's not you, maybe it's a friend, please just go through the application. It literally takes 5 minutes, but you learn so much from just doing it as well. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Lalemba. You heard it for yourself. Don't be shy. Apply. Yeah. It's not just the money. You can also benefit even from the coaching and the hand-holding that happens. They are looking for ideas that are fresh or ideas that are already existing that need to be scaled up. So let's get on with the show in terms of people understanding how they can engage with Enigma. What kind of businesses does Enigma typically invest in? If I'm sitting and I have a business, what are the things that you look for?
Sarah, do you want to take that?
Sure. Yeah, so the key, other than female-led, one of the key focuses for us is a business that can scale. And that's what's great about being with this group, is that you've all got, or thinking about, having businesses that are trying to trade across borders, which means you're already starting to think big. You're already starting to think about exporting, you're starting to think about importing, you're starting to think about a global market as opposed to small market. So that's really key for us, is do you have a product or services that have a large enough market? Can you scale? Can you grow a business that is not just employing you and your friends and family? Can you grow something that really has great potential? So that's one of the very sort of first things that we look for. Have you got a product or a service or an idea that really has great market potential? We consider ourselves to be sector agnostic, which means we look at various different sectors. We'll look at agriculture, we'll look at education, we'll look at health, we'll look at products and services, consumer goods. We have a wide range of sectors that we are open to, so not just many investors just like investing in tech. We love tech too, but we love consumer goods, and we love products that have a great opportunity to scale. So that's us in a nutshell.
Thanks for that, Sarah. Participants, again, just to remind each other, we like all of you, but at this point, the stage is for Sarah and Lelemba. Let's give them that time to shine. Thank you very much. So in terms of sectors, you've already said you are sector agnostic. You can cover a range of sectors, but are there sectors that you don't go to? A lot of times we talk about which sectors do we cover, but are there others that you don't cover that say, okay, this one, no?
Yeah. So we exclude, what would be termed the sin industry. So cigarettes, drugs, guns. We don't typically look at alcohol or the extractive industries. Other than that, we are really open to looking at any industry where women are thriving. And our deliberate move to not focus only on technology is recognizing that a lot of women are still quite excluded in the technology field. But what we still want to do is that when we look at your traditional business models in other non-tech industries, is we still want to look at how can we lever technology, even in an industry that would look like agriculture, to really help our women to scale their businesses and to get them to a place where they can grow to their wildest dreams, really. And so, yes, we will exclude those particular industries, but anywhere else where women are thriving, we are there. So I would encourage everybody to just apply. You will be given feedback all the same, no matter what industry you are in, but typically those are the ones that we would exclude. All
right. Thank you very much. I think it still leaves a lot of other industries, so no one can complain that they're excluded here. In terms of companies that can apply, we're talking about applying. What does your application process look like? If I'm starting to get excited, what does it take? What do I need to do?
The application process itself is very quick, and we've made it as painless as possible. You go to our website, and I'm sure you will share the link with everybody after the call, but it's www.enigmaventures.com/applications. You get a little teaser that just helps you to assess whether you are investor ready or not, and you go straight into the application. All of this takes at maximum 5 minutes, literally. And this includes listening to a video which helps you to understand what we're looking for and puts you in a better running for making your application a lot more effective and efficient. We've made it short. What we want is to have as many women as possible do the application, because even if you don't get shortlisted in one particular round, you will learn so much in the process of seeing how other people are going through the process, that when you apply the next time, you have better and better chances. And so we've had people who've applied 3 times and now have gotten to a place where they've got a term sheet and are getting ready for investment. And so encouraging everybody that we do understand that for many of you, it is a learning process, and we are here for you to handhold you through that learning process, because what we want is a full pipeline of women who are ready to scale, who are banging down doors. So it's a quick process, it's 5 minutes, and nobody should feel intimidated about really just going to check it out. Yeah.
All right. So 5 minutes, and there's a video that can show us how to do it as well.
Yes, it tells you exactly what we look for, so that when you're explaining what you're doing in your application, at least you are already feeling equipped to know what to say. Yeah.
All right. So someone may ask, I don't know if the amount I'm asking for is too small. or too big? What are the parameters that kind of guide the typical applications that you'll be considering in this funding call?
Yeah, we as Alemba sort of indicated, we have two buckets, if you like. You've got existing businesses that probably have great revenues and some cash flow already, and you might have earlier stage businesses that are really just starting out, just getting going at the very, very beginning of their journey. Still have lots to prove in terms of, will people buy their products? Will people use their services? And for the latter group, that smaller group, when your business is really small, we typically will make what we call a pre-seed investment, which might be a $25,000 to a $50,000 check, if for a very, very early stage business, and with the hope that you could grow your business using that money, and then you might be able to put more money into the business at a later round, which we would call a seed stage. A seed stage investment, typically we write checks from $200,000 up to almost $1 million US dollars. And companies who would be eligible for those kind of check, sizes would be companies that have existing revenue, would be having existing clientele, may or may not be profitable, but would have significant traction showing they've got a very viable business, they've got a very big market. If they put money into the business today, we could put that money to work, we could scale operations, we could acquire more customers, we could grow the business. So those are the two parameters really. There's sort of like a smaller box, sort of $20,000 to $50,000 up to $200,000 to $1 million.
Mm-hmm. That's quite a nice spread in the sense that early stage companies have a shot at it. And in the process, they also then get support in terms of growing that idea. And then those that are ready to fly, there's a specific window. So there's no competition between different types of enterprises in different, so the two cohorts really enable, if I have a fresh idea that's new to market, I'm only competing with those that have new ideas. And then if I have a mature idea, I'm only competing also with those that have mature ideas, which I think makes it quite interesting. Someone may be sitting on the fence and saying, I'm not sure if they are talking about me. And it's only when they hear about somebody who has already walked the journey that they kind of say, oh, that looks like me, I can also do it. Do you have examples, maybe without calling names, where it may not be appropriate, of somebody in the early stage and what they look like, and somebody in the seed stage and what they look like, so that one can say, ah, that's me right there?
Well, I've got a great one for a seed, in that she came out of this group, and she a small Eswatini business called Black Mamba chilies, and Claudia, the founder of that business, was part of the USA Trade Hub, and she had an outgrower scheme for women in Eswatini growing chilies, and she built a branded product, Black Mamba chili, and she's selling her chili sauces around the world, selling them in South Africa, to other parts of Africa, and globally. And so we seed funded Claudia's company last year. She was successful in achieving investment to grow her operations and to continue to try and scale her business to do more revenue and produce more great chili sauces to export them around the world.
Thank you. And how many employees?
I am not sure off the top of my head how many employees. I think she probably had less than 10. And then obviously her outgrower scheme for her female farmers, small holding farmers who were growing chilies for her. But probably less than 10 employees in the actual business.
Yeah, she had less than 10, and currently she's got 18 post the investment, and 2 that work for her casually. And before the investment, she was supporting about 60 farmers. Post the investment, that's quickly growing, and she believes she can get up to 180 farmers within the next 3 to 5 years. And so I think that gives you a really good example of, you know, what the right type of capital at the right stage can do, not just for the particular business, but also for the community around it. And if we think about the fact that your average African family has got 6 members in it, empowering 180 farmers times 6 is already looking very exponential in terms of people whose livelihoods would be positively impacted, from accessing better education to electricity to water to health, all of that stuff. And so I would love to encourage all of you to think about it like that, knowing that you growing an enterprise is for you. Yes, number 1 is for the people that you are employing directly. Number 2, but it's also for the cascading effect that can be had in your community, in your region, even on your actual economy in your country, and to not feel like what I'm doing is too small or too little. With the right type of capital and the right type of support, you really can create impact beyond what you even know. Yeah.
Okay.
That's really the reason that Delemba and I are investors. It's this sense of that growing and building small enterprises has this capacity to affect communities, affect cities, and affect nations. And that's how we transform our economies. And that's how we see Africa rise. We see Africa rise by you and me building small businesses and making big things happen. And when we do that, the potential for driving change and transformation and affecting other people's lives is really, really incredible. And that's why we want to encourage you to think big. And that's why we're really glad that you're already part of the USAID Trade Hub or connected to the Trade Hub, because you're already starting to think, can I build something bigger than me and my family? Can I create something that has the ripple effects that affects my country and maybe affects my city or maybe affects my community? But the impact of business is extraordinary. And that's why we've got to think big. And that's why we've got to think, maybe I can't do it today, but I could do it tomorrow with some capital and with some help. And I know from my own journey as an entrepreneur, I started a business in the US over a decade ago. And we started really, really small. And most entrepreneurs start really, really small. And I didn't have a big vision. I didn't have a lot of money. I had virtually no money to make anything happen. But it's this idea that if you've got something that could scale with the right support and the right help and the right capital to help you do it, you can transform your idea into something huge and make a huge impact, way more impact than you could ever possibly imagine. You are the value creators for Africa. No one in the whole world other than entrepreneurs are really the value creators, are the job creators for society. And so we need you to think big. We need you to dream and take your ideas to build something that doesn't maybe exist yet, but that could exist with the right support and the right capital.
Absolutely. To add on to what Sarah is saying, is that sometimes I know we're even afraid of dreaming big, and this is why I'm encouraging everybody to apply, because by being within the network of others who are thinking big, you gain courage, you start to see examples of people who look like you, who sound like you, who are coming from where you're coming from, who are doing these things already. And so just belonging to the network of other women entrepreneurs who are walking the path that you might just be considering now, and you might not be there yet. But by going through the application, first you learn what we are looking for. But secondly, by being in that network, you're getting access to the people who are doing what you want to do. And so that alone, they say a rising ship lifts others, So whatever you are doing, you might be thinking, I'm alone, I don't know where to start from. But by seeing the examples that other people are doing, it just makes it so much easier for you. So do apply.
Thank you for those encouraging words in terms of really indicating that the entry barriers, you have lowered them. and you are really challenging people to say that idea that you had is good enough, bring it forward. Don't hold back. It may not be perfect, but we can work together to bring it to where it's supposed to be. And to think in terms of the impact that the business can have, but the value that investment can then bring in terms of unlocking that value of the business. I think we have whet people's appetite sufficiently. Let's see, I've been seeing a couple of hands shooting up and some people threatening to come on stage. Let's see if people have got questions so that we can have a real dialogue now. I think, is it Mr. Visashi? I think you've been having your hand up for a while. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, thank you. My name is Johannes Visachi. Briefly, let me just explain what I'm doing. I'm a donkey dairy farmer. We do cosmetics with donkey milk. 2 + 6. We've got 8 of our products now on Amazon, but we are a very, very small company. This is a family business, and I am a messenger in this family business. My wife is actually the driver behind, but she doesn't want to be in the front. She wants me to be in the front. That is why the shareholding now is 51-49. But she's actually the driver behind it. But she chooses the packaging, what the things must look like. I got expertise in formulating and things like that, but running the business, she's the power behind it. So when you say women-led, got a situation where the woman is leading from behind, puts the men there in front and says, do this, do this, do this, do this. Like if she wants a lip balm, says, I want you to formulate me a lip balm and I want it next week because people are looking for it. I've already sold it. Now I'll be scratching my head now. When it comes to woman-led and all those things, it puts me a bit in a confusing position there to say that what I do now, because she doesn't. I even ask her, can you sit next to me so that I can put on the video so they can see you? She says, no, just talk. So I've been instructed to ask. This is my question, but I've been told now you are okay where you are. You know, it's like Queen Elizabeth and the husband. He's made to look like the head of the household, but she's the driver behind it. How do we handle a thing like that?
All right. Thank you very much for your question. Let's take one more, and then we can allow Sarah and Lelemba to respond. Does anybody else have a question?
There are a couple of good questions in the chat. So,
okay.
So we can definitely also answer at the same time.
Why don't we get going with the first question while we sort the questions in the chat box? Please take the first question, Nawe.
Oh, that's a great question. So when we're talking about women-led and women-run, what we really want to see is that the woman has influence in creating the strategic direction and the way in which the business is executing where it's going. And so your wife having 49% already looks great on paper, but us noting that she's actually the one that's making the decisions and you were being told what to do is also a great indicator. So please do feel free to apply. What we're trying to avoid is window dressing of women in any position where you say, oh, she is the CFO or she's the CEO, and it's just a title and she doesn't have any influence on actually what gets done. That's what we're trying to avoid. And so in looking at the ownership structure, seeing that there's some level of controlling stake, but also reviewing that in actual fact, who is making the decisions and who can push and pull the business in what direction is important. Because also you can say she's 60% owner and she doesn't do anything in the business and doesn't have a say in the business anyway. So both those things will weigh in. And so please do feel free to apply. From what you've said, it sounds like she does have power in managing the direction and creating those strategic decisions that are needed to drive the business forward. So yeah. Sarah, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I would just add that we've made a couple of investments already in married couples. Of married couples working together to build their business. And as the Lemba said, if they're both active in the business and actively involved in growing and scaling it and have significant roles to play, and we're great with that.
Okay. So you heard it. They have seen it all. They know it. They know the right questions to ask to test how the power dynamics are working in that arrangement. Dr. Georgia from Botswana, can I please have you ask your question?
Hello, ladies. This sounds so wonderful. Thank you, Golden, for bringing this to our attention and making this possible. I see that my question actually, it relates to two of the questions on the chat, which I discovered after I put my hand up. Talk about the types of funding, mezzanine, equity. Someone here has a very good question about equity loan. Right now, I'm really looking for equity so that as an exit strategy, I can leave my business with more people from the region. And so just really curious how your funding process is, what are the opportunities?
Absolutely, that's an easy question to answer. We typically make equity investments, which means we put cash into the business in exchange for some of the shares in the business. So we become a co-owner or a partner with you in the business itself. Occasionally, we'll do some debt, as often as follow-on investment. So if we've made an equity investment into the company and the company might need a little bit more cash and it can service that cash, we might make a debt investment after that if there's more cash needed. But our primary focus is making an equity investment into the business. So we'll exchange cash into the business for shares ownership of the business.
All right. Perhaps a follow-on question to that could be, do you have a minimum threshold in terms of how many shares you want to get in the business?
The easy answer to that is no. There's no specific minimum. I can tell you in practice, though, that the answer is probably yes, in the sense that it has to be worth our time, energy, and effort to be a partner with you. So the amount of money, as I said, when we make seed investments, there's quite a range there from $200,000 to $1 million, right? And that we usually work out how much money your business needs. You don't have to come to us and tell us, I need this amount of money and I'm going to do this with it. It's great if you can tell us that, but you don't need to. We often work with you to figure out how much money does your business, your specific business, really need to scale. And then we'll calculate how big we think your business can be in 5 years. And we'll think about how much runway do you need over the next 18 months? How much cash are you going to need in the near future, sort of a year, 18 months time, to grow the business, to take it to the next level, to really make significant change in the business? And we'll decide with you then how much cash is appropriate to put into the business to think about your next phase of growth. And then being investors like to make a return, like to make money on their investments. We're not giving money away for the sake of giving money away. We take a stake in the business and we have an expectation about where that might get you in 5 years' time or 6 years' time, and what our stake might become worth. So effectively, that will then govern how much of the company in exchange for the investment today, that the shares that we end up taking. Often it's somewhere in the 20 to 30% range. It's not a small stake for sure. It's a reasonable stake, but it means we're committed, we're invested, we're involved, we're active with you in growing and scaling your business and helping you get to the next level.
Mm-hmm. So in the case of Dr. Georgia, she wants to exit. Would you consider taking the whole business? I think that's a question. Or Alternatively, from within or a pool of companies that you work with, would you identify companies to co-invest with to take over that business?
Possibly, yes. Depending on what the business is doing and is there anything else in our portfolio with something else that could manage it or operate it, we definitely look at it. It's not our normal wheelhouse. It's not our normal ammo. But we definitely would probably take a look and either make a suggestions if we are not the right people to get involved, make a suggestion as to who might be or how to find the right buyer for that business. We'd definitely be able to help with that.
Okay. So in short, let's talk is the message that I'm getting in that regard. Bring the details and let's look at the details. Okay, so the next one, Nyanguru. I'm trying not to massacre your first name, so I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Please ask your question.
Oh, thank you, Mahove. Thank you so much, ladies. This is such a beautiful initiative. My name is Mahadiyo, Mr. Golden. Mahadiyo from
Okay, thank you.
Lesotho. Yes.
All right.
From the Basotho Enterprises Development Corporation. And I'm so happy about this because as Bedco, we have embarked in Access to Finance project, whereby we're actually trying to explore this non-traditional forms of financing, and one of them is venture capital. And we're trying to find as many venture capitalists as possible to meet the requirements of our MSMEs. And this makes me happy because your profile does not necessarily look for people who have been in business for such a long time and are large businesses, but it also looks at ideas and startups. And the fact that you actually work to evaluate the business and see how much it needs. So now my question then is, how can we collaborate with yourselves as Bedco, who has a profile or a long list of or database of MSMEs within the country, so that we can actually put them or link them with you or create the linkage platform so that they can have access to your funding. I think my question is, how then can we take this forward so that we continuously then expose our MSMEs to your product?
Great. We are always open to partnerships and linkages, Mahadiyo, because we believe that this work, particularly around getting access to finance for women entrepreneurs, has to be a team playing game, right? And so we're happy to share our marketing material with you. We're happy to share our links. We're happy to have specific webinars with your network of women entrepreneurs if you believe that that will be worthwhile to answer any specific questions that they may have. We are always open to collaboration. We know that it takes a village, right, to do anything, to raise a child, to grow an enterprise. Nobody is going to do this alone, and we don't believe that we will solve the problem of investments into women on our own. And so this is why we're having this conversation with USAID as well, is because we do realize that this has to be a lot more collaborative and that everybody is doing some piece of work, but if we work together, we definitely will go further. So do feel free to contact us directly. We're happy to share any of our marketing material with you, but also to do any specific calls that you feel might be like, this is Lesotho specific and would benefit more if you can have the conversation around this particular topic. So do reach out. I'll share my email as well, and you can feel free to reach out.
Thank you very much for that, Lelemba. And we'll be happy to organize a dedicated session between Bedco and Enigma,
That would be great.
You can address them and they can raise their questions and you can prepare them so that they get the attention that they need and possibly even assistance with the application in the process.
Yeah.
So you can follow up with our country representative, Memarina, to schedule, and we can arrange a dedicated session for Bedco clients. So there's a question here that says, which countries do you cover? Are there countries that you don't cover?
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Right now we're covering the SADC region, and so it's the 16 countries in the SADC region. We may in future move beyond. There were, direct benefits of focusing on SADC because of a lot of agreements that were already in place. But with Africa Free Trade Area getting some implementation from this year onwards, we might be a lot more open to looking elsewhere. So as at now, we're looking at SADC countries.
All right. Wonderful. And someone asks, is age a factor? Is there someone who is too young or too old to take a shot at this?
Definitely not. No one is over the hill and no one is too young. If you have a great idea or a great business, we will take a look.
Yes, so your idea is what matters.
Absolutely.
So don't hold back. Tekla, I see you've got your hand up. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, please. Thank you so much. This is certainly a very interesting topic. I'm glad that I'm a part of it. I just wanted to find out when you do invest in our business, do you require a cash contribution by the promoter? Do I have to? Can I bring my idea, and if it is worth $300,000, would you say, okay, if your business is worth 300, or if you require 300,000, we need 5%, 10% contribution from you? Is there any contribution that you require from the promoter of the business? Thank you.
Go for it.
No, is the answer. Typically, when someone's already founded a business, they've already put their own money to work. They've already started to build the business, and usually you've got your friends and family and anyone else. You've borrowed money from anyone you know to try and get the business started. So when we come to the table, we're looking at your business as what's the value in the business today, and where could the business go in the future if we put some capital into it. So we're not expecting you to come to the table with cash. That's our job.
Would this
We also
apply
know how
even
hard
to
you're working. We also know how hard you're
great.
working. Like, you are working day and night to grow a business. So that creates its own value. So yeah.
Great. Would this also apply to the new business ideas?
Yes.
And
Yes,
not
it
just
does.
the already existing
Yes,
ones?
it does.
Yes,
You will be the one to execute on the idea at the end of the day. So yes, it does apply.
That's what we call sweat equity. So there's cash equity and there's sweat equity, which is the hard work that you bring to the table to make something happen, either an idea or a business, and that has value, right? And when cash equity investors come to the table, we're looking at what can you do? What value can you create? Can you create wealth by building and driving revenue? Can you create sales? And so we look at you and we effectively put a value on you and your business and what you bring to the table. And that's what we call your sweat equity. Equity that you have created value by building something or having an idea or being willing to work and make something happen. And that's your contribution.
So you're willing to fund 100% of the business requirement for 20 to 30% without the promoter having to contribute any cash to it?
Correct.
Yes.
It sounds too good, Tekla, isn't it?
Sounds too good to be true.
It is the reality. So
the caveat, of course, is you got to have a really
I'm banking on the fact that USAID is behind this.
No, so the caveat, Tekla, is that number one, we are trusting that you are going to put in the work that is required to make this happen. When we come on board, as much as we are partners, we're not going to do the work for you. You are still the entrepreneur. You're the one with the vision. You're the one who's found the gap. And it has to be a good idea, a good gap that you've identified, and a big enough market that makes us believe that this is something that we will get returns in future. So, for example, you can't typically come with a small problem that only affects you and your 5 friends. And we wanted to have a big enough market that we can see a path to scale and the path to profitability. Yes. And if you show us that I've got the capability to actually drive this and make this happen, and I've got maybe a team around me that can execute with me, we're 100% willing to bring in the cash, trusting that you will make this happen. So it's not like we're like, here's the money. We're not giving you money for your pocket. We're giving you money to execute on this plan that you've presented, that you've convinced us that is workable. And there's check-ins. You are coming back to report on what's happening on a monthly basis. And so it's not like we say, go away and make it happen, and we'll see you in 3 years and hopefully there's a profit. It doesn't work like that. It's a partnership. We're equity partners, which means we're shareholders in your business, which means we have a say in where it's going and in what is happening on a month-to-month basis. So I hope that helps clarify it to not look like it's a charity gift and we look away. Yeah.
So Tekla, I think you get it there that first they have to like your idea. If they like your idea, then they're saying, this sounds like an idea that we can put our money against, but you will have to commit to do the work that's required to make that idea work, so that the money that you get creates additional value for you in the business and additional value for Enygma Ventures. And in the process, you have the societal impact over and above the commercial imperatives that are required. So that's the value of private equity, and particularly for what they are putting forward in terms of looking at the early stage and the ones that are looking to scale up. That's a unique opportunity that you have to take advantage of and maximize on. Linked to that, there was a question around, once you've made the investment, how long do you stay? Maybe Tekla no longer wants you in the business. How long do you stay? Maybe you're no longer welcome.
Typically, typically we end up staying somewhere between 5 and 6 years. But obviously, largely that depends. It may be less, maybe a little bit more, but on average, it's probably going to be about 5 or 6 years. And what happens is we have to create opportunities for the business to either be acquired. We like to invest in businesses that are going to be grown and sold. And when we sell something, we call that a liquidity event, i.e. you get cash out of the business. That becomes the moment that you can realize some of your sweat equity and turn it into actual cash, and we can recognize a return on our cash put into the business, and it becomes cash coming out of the business. And so when we invest in a company, we're saying, we want you to grow this business, we want you to scale your business, we want to create a business that becomes valuable to other people and that somebody might actually want to buy it. And that it's valuable enough to sell to a larger player. And that might be someone who's like us, who are investors that think we can take the business from here and we'll grow it a bit more and then sell it on again. Or it might be a big strategic buyer. It might be a corporation that buys you, or it might be someone like Unilever or Takealot, or a big corporation that's trying to acquire more companies to grow their overall portfolio. So we are working with you to create a liquidity event. So it's not about when are we going to leave, it's about when are we together going to have built a business through your work and hard work and effort and our support and championing and strategic advice on how to build a company and get it to a place where someone else is going to also believe that it's super valuable.
Mm-hmm. So in other words, if Enygma Ventures is still with you, look at it as a positive, because they are still seeing value.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, they would run away. So when they're still seeing value, they see that they can actually help you to grow the company to another level where you can extract even more value. So that's a positive. Do you want to add on to that, Lelemba?
Yeah, there's also opportunities for an entrepreneur to buy back from their investors later if you know, maybe you fall upon some cash and you feel like, okay, now I think you've walked with me on this path long enough that I would like to buy you off. There's also opportunities for that. It will just probably be at a higher valuation because you've had growth from the time we invested to the time where we're at. So there are different ways in which your investor could exit. It could be to a bigger investor who wants to invest in your business. It could also be you buying your shares back. So, but typically, as Sarah said, it's that 5 to 6 year time, and know that it is a beneficial thing. So don't be afraid of investors. I'll give you examples of some of the things that have happened as a result of women getting investors into their businesses. One of the businesses we invested in last year, only in December, has been able to grow her revenue 10 times in 3 months. And she's made more revenue in 3 months than she did in 2 whole years. And so with the right type of investment, with the right type of backing, this is the type of growth that you can see. Other examples are entrepreneurs who've been able to open up new markets altogether. So maybe you were supplying one chain store, and when you get the right investors who can introduce you to, say, a new network, say, I'm going to send an email out to Pick and Pay and say, pick up this product, or I'm going to do an intro to ShopRite for you to pick up this product. They can open up new markets that within your network you didn't have the opportunity to. And so why we love equity investing opposed to just giving you a loan is that we can help you beyond money. So we'll sit with you with your strategy and helping you think big. We'll handhold you in terms of opening up networks, our own networks, which we've worked years and years to build. So the relationships that we have are trusted. And so we can introduce you into those networks to help you scale your business in ways that you wouldn't have seen possible or you wouldn't have in your own networks. So see it more as a partnership rather than a supervisor telling you what to do. It's a partnership. We're coming in to work together to grow the business together with you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. So we have another question from Ioannis from Donkey Milk in Botswana. Ioannis, have you been instructed to give us another question, or is it your wife this time?
Well,
No.
another question. I'm afraid I have to hop off, but I'm going to leave you in the very capable hands of my colleague Lelemba as you wrap up taking final questions. But it has been an absolute pleasure to be with you all this afternoon, and I look forward to seeing your applications and to hearing pitches from you in due course. So thank you very much, Golden, for the time, and it's been great to be with you all. And I will love you and leave you in the capable hands of Golden and Lelemba. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Sarah, for joining us, and we'll stay in touch.
Sounds great. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Ioannis, please go ahead.
Okay, Lelemba, this conversation is becoming more and more very interesting. It means that if I'm asked to do something and I have no clue, because I have this kind of thing, if somebody asks me to do something, even if I don't understand it, I say yes and do it and learn it from there. Now, what I'm hearing from you guys, it's actually very, very interesting. What I wanted to find out, how exactly do you calculate the value of sweat equity? Like, for instance, in my case, we started with 2 donkeys, myself and my wife, she holding the donkey and me milking until we trained the donkey that any one of us could milk it. And we went as far as Amazon. They got our products there, and we found out that it needs a little bit more money to market the product. It is there, because we had a little bit of money, marketed the first 2 products that were on Amazon for 3 months. But 3 months was not enough for the product to catch momentum. And then we sent another 6, and that's where we wanted to get in, But listening to you, and we can see there's a lot of advantages in partnering with you. But what I would find out is that how exactly would you evaluate sweat equity.
All right. Thank you very much for that question. You can take it, Lelemba.
Cool. So there's various types of methodologies, and the call is a little short to get into the details of it. But what we'll typically look at is how you've grown the business so far, the potential of the business growing to a scalable form in the future, and also the risks that are in the market for you. And so when we part of our process is running financial models with you. And with running the financial models, we have to do a market assessment where we see how large your market actually is, where we see how you've performed in the past, and we can make some projections for where we believe, both you and us, how big you can grow into the future. And so what you can be certain of is that the process is consultative and that you are involved hands-on with us as we're making these projections. And this is what ends up giving us the number for how we are valuing your business. It's a back and forth process. We are using expert forecasters. We are factoring in market conditions, and we're building in some risk buffer. But it's a process that we work with you on, so that at the end of the day, when we get to this valuation, you know exactly how it has happened, and we both get the thumbs up before we move forward. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that response. So Ioannis, as you can see, I think it's a consultative process, but that's one that's also based on evidence that you put before them. And after they've done the evaluation, you also get a chance to say whether you agree or disagree with it.
Correct. So like when we do forecasts with you, for example, you can come back and tell us that this is too big, this number is too big because what I know about my market is this. Or this is too small because what I'm seeing as the demand which we can get is this. So it is a consultative process. And we trust that you, the entrepreneur, know your product and know your market. But we also work with market researchers who've been in this field and who can see beyond your immediate scope of market, say for Botswana, but who might be able to see what is the potential scope for SADC to help you think through this. And so we've had entrepreneurs who have thought too small, and we've also had entrepreneurs who've thought too big. But in this consultative process, we come to that place where both you and ourselves are happy with what we're seeing in the forecast. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for that. I see Susan Iyaro, you have your hand up. Would you like to ask your question? Hello, Susan. Okay, while we wait for Susan, someone is asking the question on your expected return.
Cool.
What are you looking for typically?
Cool. So Marina, equity investors work slightly differently from your straightforward loan type of people where there's like a target return on investment. Typically what we want to see is that you can grow your business 3 times in this minimum, 3 times in the space of 3 to 5 years. So that is our minimum threshold. And so when we say we're looking at scalable business, that's what you can start thinking about already. And growing the business 3 times means, for example, if your current revenue is at 100, we want to see that you can be doing revenues of 300 in the space of 3 years. Or if your current profit is at 20, we want to see that your profit in the next 3 years can get to 60. So we want to see you. So when you hear in investor terminology, they say 3x, they're just saying 3 times. That's what they're meaning. Our sweet spot is obviously getting you towards that 10 times growth, right? We want to see you already growing to 10 times because 3 times is just minimum, it's the bare minimum. And so whatever capital we put in, we say it's catalytic because it's just not supposed to help you get to the next step and to grind to the next step. We want to see that it can help you grow exponentially. And so that's why we just don't give you money. That's what people who are giving you loans do. They just give you money that they don't care how you are going to expand as long as you can pay your interest. What we do is also work with you to get you that minimum 3 times return. We'll introduce you to people. We'll open up networks for you. Whatever we believe you need in order to get you that scalable, growth. That's why we come with more than just money. And so there is no payback period because we're not expecting you to pay back. What we're expecting is that you grow exponentially that another investor will say, wow, I like this opportunity and I want to invest into it, and we can get an exit. Or even we've seen entrepreneurs who get to a point where they're like, I want to list on the stock exchange, and your investors may exit at that point. So we're not expecting a payback, we're expecting growth so that we have opportunities for exiting maybe to a bigger investor or onto something like a stock market. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you very much. Somebody asked, raised their hand and then they dropped it. I can't find them now. Susan, are you able to ask your question now? Don't be shy, Susan. Okay, while you are waiting for Susan, Lelemba, would you like to tell us some of the common mistakes that you have seen applicants make when they approach you, that participants on this call should avoid at all costs?
Absolutely. So we have, what you were expecting, that we have a limitation of how much you can say, answer on each question of the application. This is because we want you to be as straight to the point as possible, number one. And number two, we want the application to be easy for you, right? Otherwise, we'd be asking for, give me a 20-page business plan, and we don't want to do that. What we want is to lower the barrier so much. So you must be able to communicate and tell us about your business in as succinct, which means brief and clear way as possible. So some of the mistakes that entrepreneurs make, for example, is when we say, how big do you see your market? Or how big do you see your business growing? You just tell us very big. Like, very big to you is very different from very big to me. What does that actually mean when you say, I see it growing very big? When you are giving responses like that, it almost feels like you haven't actually put any thoughts into how big your business can really be. And you can express this in different ways. You can say, like, I see my business expanding from Botswana into these other markets, you know, Zambia, Malawi, Lesotho. I see it reaching a target market of 10 million people because from the research I've done, these are the people who are having this problem or who can benefit from this product. So just do a little bit of thinking and a little bit of research into your application as you read through the questions. All of this type of thing where you are not sure, it's easily accessible on the internet. So if you're thinking about your market size, you can easily access that on the internet and say, how big is the market for, you know, donkey cheese or donkey products, or this type of product where, you know, I don't know, like if it's a lip balm, for lip balm products, how big is this market? So that when you're answering such a question, you're giving us context because you're the one who is in that business. So telling us very big doesn't tell us much because we're not in that business with you. So that's number one. You just give us some nice, clear communication and detail into your responses. Number two is making a mistake on what problem you are solving. What we see with a lot of our African entrepreneurs is that they want to give big picture, big message responses. Like, I'm going to give you a typical example of one of the things I've seen is like a person who's providing a CV writing service. When we ask her, what problem are you solving? She says, I'm solving the problem of unemployment. The problem of unemployment is too big and can be tackled in so many different ways. And helping people writing their CVs better is not going to create more jobs. What it is helping them is to help them communicate better about what they can do. So it might be I'm solving an issue of poor communication style or poor writing styles for CVs. So be specific on the problem you are actually solving. Don't go for I'm solving equality for women or I'm solving, you know, the problem of corruption. Those problems are big. Which part of it are you tackling? So be clear about the problem that you're actually solving. It helps you to communicate what you're doing better with us. And don't think that if you say that I am solving the issue of poor CV writing skills, that it makes your issue small. No, that is a big problem indeed. And it's part of the issue why people may not be getting an interview, but make sure you know what problem you're actually solving. So those are two typical examples.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for those. So colleagues, we are warned, let's not go in there with generalities. Let's be very specific. Tabo from Earth Vitamins, you raised your hand, and do you still have a question that you'd like to bring forward?
Sorry, Golden. That was a mistake. My question got answered on the chat box. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. And that you are sorted. Susan, are you now able to ask your question? All right. Seeing as there are no other questions, let me ask another question. Within your portfolio, you obviously have several companies. How do you ensure that the companies you have in your portfolio are benefiting from each other?
Great. That's an amazing question. So on a monthly basis, after we make the investment, on a monthly basis, we do a number of things. Number one is we have a monthly touch base with us as investors, with the investees. So in these meetings, we're looking at your financial performance. We're looking at how you are tracking for the 3 things that you're chasing in each quarter. Each quarter, we ask our entrepreneurs to just focus on 3 strategic things that they want to push. Because the more focused you are, the better you will be at executing. So we want to touch base on how are you doing on those 3 things. And we want to hear about what you're learning and the challenges that you're having so we can support you with those challenges. In addition to that, we have what we call our Founders Town Hall meeting, where we bring all of our entrepreneurs together. And we're either tackling a topic where people have mentioned they're having challenges with it. For example, it could be around how do I build, a good team culture, or how do I work with marketing for my business. So we bring that topic to the table, and then the different entrepreneurs share what is working. So this is not a conference where it's me or Sarah just talking at the entrepreneurs. It's where we are all engaging, and the different entrepreneurs share what's working for them, and they can share what their challenges are so that they can also support one another. And because sometimes one problem that you are stuck with, somebody already solved last month. And maybe by sharing that, they help you unlock the solution way quicker than you doing trial and error. We believe in efficiency and really getting a good return on our investment. And so co-learning is a huge part of that. And peer coaching is a huge part of that. So if I'm good at sales, the next entrepreneur might be good at finance. And we're struggling with these things. I'm struggling with finance, she's struggling with sales. We can always exchange what is best practice and what is working in different businesses. And even exchange service providers and say, oh, this marketing genius was great for my business. I think they can be great for you too. So we have monthly town halls where we share learnings and we share expertise. Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Christine Smith, please ask your question. We are not hearing you yet. I can see that you have unmuted, but we can't hear you yet. Okay, this seems to be a problem. Christine, do you want to try again? Maybe you can log off and log on if it's not picking up. Can we go to Dr. Georgia in the meantime?
Thank you again. The place we are at in our business is definitely scale. And we are working to make Marula more than most people in Botswana have ever considered it could be. Our core business is oil, which is the biggest value item. But there's so much more that we can do and have preliminary plans to do. When I apply, because I'm definitely going to apply, I have the immediate needs of the oil part of the business, but I'm teaming up with another entrepreneur in the pulp food part of the business. Do I just go for the most immediate need, the core of my business at this moment, and then talk about the other as it develops a little bit more? Or do I let you know all of the big parts that I see coming down the line before I exit? Just what's the best strategy there? the immediate need, or the bigger vision, or the bigger vision and then here's my immediate need?
Cool. Both. So within the application, you will get an opportunity to say what you are doing immediately right now. What problem are you solving? What's your product? And then there's a question on why do you think this is the right time for your business, where you can tell us a little bit more about what you're seeing as future opportunities for your business. And in terms of your ask, I would say think about asking for the amount that covers both plans. Because if it's already in motion and this is where you are believing you'll get even greater scale than just focusing on the oil, then please bring that in. Yeah, just highlighting that where there is traction is on the oil side. Both of those matter because we work with businesses that are existing, those that are pivoting, and those which are having fresh ideas. So it sounds like for you, it's a growth for what is existing, but also a slight pivot into the other areas where you see they can be value created. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Do you have a follow-up question to that, Dr. Georgia?
No, thank you. That was excellent in the thought of pivot, and that's exactly right. For example, and maybe you can talk to others about this as well, we have the opportunity to buy a factory right next door to our factory. Our factory is rudimentary, to say the least. The factory next door has been making food, but we think we can move our oil into there. The difference in the ask would be substantial if we go for the new factory, or it's actually an existing factory, rather than just what we need for the operations and scale with equipment. And so, as you're saying, it's a pivot into food, but it also could be this property, which would give a surety, which is a good thing to have, especially given its location. So, we have all of this happening, and any advice you can give us all would be most appreciated. And thank you, Golden.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Sounds like you have one signed up applicant right there.
Cool. So, and probably we need another call to talk about the different type of financing that works for different needs for your business. And so I would say that typically for this application, what you want to focus on is in this version of your business, what would scale look like? Because if you bring in an aspect of property, there's so many ways that you can finance property without thinking about using the money that comes from equity for that. What you want to use the money for equity for is things like expanding into new markets or expanding into distribution channels. It's those big scale plans. And I hear you saying that maybe scale might depend on getting a bigger factory or a better factory, but a bigger or better factory is not a deal breaker for scale right now. It could be one of the plans that comes into play as we are discussing your strategy later on. But when you make this application, think through in what would really create the real scale, and what are the real deal breakers that you are seeing. And from what you're saying, I don't believe that a new factory is an absolute deal breaker for you having scale, because honestly, you can have your stuff produced in other people's factories and you don't need to own the factory. That still can create scale. You can expand your current capacity, and if you feel your current capacity is limited, you can work with others who've got the capacity to help you scale your product. So think about what would really, really, really impact scale, and owning a new factory, I don't think is one of those things. So for this application, focus on scale and what do I need for real scale without, and your language, you said owning the property helps with securing the capital that we have. That is not our concern. That is usually a concern for loan providers, that it has to be something that we're holding on to. Our concern when we are investing equity is that you can actually grow this business exponentially. And sometimes getting those huge assets prevents you from growing it exponentially, because you've now amassed a new huge cost that prevents you from really putting the money into the places where it drives it for the best growth. So I hope that makes sense. Yeah.
That makes perfect sense. Thank you for those insights.
Thank you very much, Lelemba. Thanks, Dr. Georgia. Christine, would you like to ask your question now? Are you still with us? It doesn't look like Christine is in the house.
I'd love to encourage all of you to ask questions. We are those investors who are like the examiner who gives you the answers before you take the exam. So no question is too small. There's no dumb questions. Everything is welcome. We know that this is a journey that we're taking with you and that it's a learning process for a lot of people. All of us on our team, I'm an entrepreneur myself. And when I was walking this journey of raising financing, we were starting from scratch, just like most of you on this call. And so do not feel nervous about asking this question. This is you speaking to people who've walked this journey that you are walking. So it's not like we're out here just calculating behind our books. We've all been entrepreneurs. Dr. Golden did mention that I've grown a company before, and this company grew from 1 market to 5 markets here in Africa, in our market. So I've been on the journey that you're on. So just feel free to ask as many questions as you need to.
All right. Yes, we've got new questions.
Okay,
George,
so I've seen Kristen has posted something on the chat because she might be struggling to unmute. She says, how does Enigma receive money from us? You have a 30% share. When do we pay you towards that percent? Is it monthly, on the profits, or quarterly, or annually? Do you wait 5 or 6 years when you buy the company? Cool. Yeah. So again, equity works differently from your loan. So with loans, for example, you're expected to pay on a monthly basis, and you say you pay for the next 36 months. You'll be paying on a monthly basis. With equity, for us to get our money back, we would have had to work with you to grow this business to such a point where another investor comes on board and says, great, I want to invest in this business. This creates what we call in investor terms an exit opportunity for us to take our money out, because now we've grown the business. And maybe for our shareholding, when we got the 30%, we put in an investment of 250. By the time this new investor is coming, we've grown this business 5 times. And now our 250 is worth 1.2 million. And then we can exit. So don't worry about paying back, because equity doesn't demand for you to pay back. What it demands for you is to grow the business, because we know with growth, the opportunities for other investors and also even large corporates. What we're seeing a lot in this region is, say you are in food production and a corporate sees, like a big Pick and Pay sees that, wow, this product is really flying off the shelf. There's so many opportunities for them to come and say, we want to buy you, or we want to invest in this business. And that's where both you and us get an opportunity to say, do we want to exit here? Do we want to take some money out of the business or not? If we feel we're doing so well and we don't want to sell it, we are also happy to stay in the business as well. Yeah.
Thank you. I see there's a hand up from Ngava. Please ask your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Gordon. Thank you, Lelemba. The subject of equity has been something that I want to learn more about, being a growing entrepreneur. And then the question that I've always had, because my business has 3 definite defined portfolios: greenhouse, supply, agro-processing, and incubation. Now, when you say
sorry, Nkaba, someone is competing with you. Let's just find out who that is.
Neo.
Yes, please go ahead, Nkaba. Apologies for interruption.
I heard you say, thank you, that's okay. I heard you say you get 30% equity, and I'm wondering, how do you determine if you're coming in my business? Do you come as a whole to partner with us as a whole, or you look at one portfolio and say we are more interested in this portfolio?
Both are options. So we've had businesses where it's coming as a bundled portfolio, and we make the decision whether we want to invest at the group level, depending on how attractive each of these bundles is, or we only want to invest in one bundle. The one that we did in December that I gave an example of that has grown 10 times between December and now, we invested as a bundle, and she's got slightly different business models happening in Zambia and in Zimbabwe and a branch in Mauritius, but we invested at that group bundle level. Another one that is in our current pipeline, we're thinking about investing only in one area of the business because they're separate businesses, but they come as a group, but we're thinking of only investing in one. So it depends on what you present and what the growth opportunities are across the group or in each of them. And that decision will come together with you. Yeah.
Thank you. So put all of them in the hat and see what comes out. Okay. I see, Paul, you've got your hand up as well. Would you like to ask your question?
Yes, I would. Hello, Lelamba. Hello, Golden.
Hello.
A question that I have is, can Enigma settle bank loans and continue with the organization that they would be investing in if most of the revenue goes to bank loans instead of going back into the business to regrow the business?
That's a great question, Paul. This is for all of you entrepreneurs to note that in the valuation process of your business, all the loans that you have work to reduce your valuation. And so typically what you might want to do is reduce the amount of loans that you have in the business when you are getting into an equity investment, because it just decreases the valuation of your business. We have to remove it from the valuation of your business because we understand that you're probably going to have to pay that loan back and that some of the money will go there. Because when we're investing, what we want the money to go into is into growth and not settling debts, because it limits the amount of money then that you can put towards growth if we are paying off a major piece of your debt. And so think about ways of reducing that debt as much as possible, because it only works to reducing your valuation as a business. And we want to make sure that when we put in capital, you are maximizing it to growth instead of minimizing it for paying debt.
Okay, clear. Thank you.
Yeah. So it's possible, but it decreases your valuation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Tekla, you've got your hand up. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Am I unmuted?
No, you are on.
Yes, thank you.
We can hear you.
I just wanted to ask about the assistance. I'm sure now as an equity partner, it is also in your best interest that the business venture grows. Will you be a silent partner, or will you be active in market access, in the distribution channels and all that? Or will you just be a silent partner in the business?
Yeah, so we offer support more than just the money. So we'll definitely help you open up new markets. We'll help you get distribution. Somebody had asked on the chat around, like, even if you want to get into the US markets, do we have companies that can support you with doing that? Yes, we do. And so all of these contacts we come with, and we help you expand at all levels, not just by giving you money. It is in our best interest that you grow, because for us, an exit only comes if you grow. And so it's definitely in our best interest that you grow.
Wonderful. So I see no new questions. It's allowed to finish a meeting sooner than planned. We are used to meetings running over. Let me do one last sweep in terms of checking any other questions. Yes, Christine and Tekla, I've seen your hand. So Christine, please pose your question. Okay, I think we've run into the same problem of the sound not coming through. Maybe type your question.
If you can type it out, yeah.
Yes. And then let's have Tekla. Is that a trailing hand or a new hand?
It's a new hand.
Seeing
that we're coming to a close, I'm sure you will state how we can have one-on-ones with Lelemba, because we're very much interested in this.
Mm-hmm.
So
where are you, Tekla?
Sorry, I was asking if there will be an opportunity for us to engage with Lilemba one-on-one.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, please go
So
ahead.
Tekla, I do not take one-on-ones deliberately, because what I would like for you to do is actually go through the application so that you can learn and so that you can have access to all the resources that we give. In those resources, there are places where you get opportunities to actually engage with us. But I know that by that point, when you are engaging with me, you are, you are well educated in what to ask for, what we're looking for, what we are as, equity investors, and we can have a more productive conversation at that point. So what we try to avoid in having one-on-ones too early before you actually go through the process is covering some of the basic questions that are actually covered in our processes and in our resources. So we give you everything that you need. Through the application process, you will see a little video where you are told what type of business we're looking at, for example. Through the application, you will be able to do your own assessment to see, am I ready yet? And if you're not ready, we direct you onto our education platform for entrepreneurs called Startup Circles. Again, there's a lot of resources. There are free ones, paid ones, there's masterclasses every week that are complimentary, and you can get into a particular program that you want where you get a lot more one-on-one hand-holding. But trust me, go through that process whether you believe you're ready or not, because in that learning, you will improve that with the type of conversation that you are going to have with us when you get the opportunity. So we are always available through platforms like this, but do start that journey because you'll gain so much value, I promise you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Tato, you've got a question. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry I came in late. My questions, the last question that Lamba was just answering, part of it was answered, but I just wanted to find out the place where we do the application. I'm sure it will be posted on the chat box because I arrived late, so I'm not too sure how the application process goes. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I think what we'll do, in addition to having it in the chat box, did you sign up for the webinar so that we can also then send it to everyone who signed up for the webinar for them to get the link, in addition to having it in here?
Yes, I did sign up, but when I didn't receive any email to acknowledge that. Right. I will be, so I just used the link that I found on the group to log on.
Okay. I think Lelemba is busy typing it into the chat box right now. Please confirm when you have it in there. Okay, then the other question is, how does Enigma earn money?
I think that I have answered this repeatedly. So maybe, Dr. Golden, you can also help me in case my response is not being very clearly.
It's not going through, yes.
Yeah. Yes, so what I'm saying is that we don't require monthly payments out of your profits. We're not requiring, it's not a loan. What we want is that we grow with you together so that at some point there's a bigger investor who's interested in buying us out or investing in your business, or you can even grow to a point where you can list on the stock market. That's how we get our money out. So it should not be a worry that we'll be badging on the door saying, pay us, pay us, pay us. The only thing we'll be badging on your door is, are you growing, are you growing, are you growing? That's the only thing you can expect.
So let me try and explain it again. So Enygma Ventures is like a friend who comes to you and says, oh, you've got a nice idea, but you don't have the money to implement it. Here's some money, but for this money, I'm going to take a percentage of your business for now. And I'm going to work with you to help you to implement this idea so that you make more money out of it. When we make more money out of it, we can then sell the business, or somebody else may come and say, I like what you have, and buy Lelemba's share out and become the partner with you. So there are no loans. The real money comes from you at a minimum, tripling the turnover of your business. And from that growth, if they put in $10, it means now that their money is now $30 because you have grown the business. So as much as you're interested in growing the business, they are also interested in growing the business. Because if your business does not grow, they will not make money, and you also not make money. So your interests are the same in terms of growing your business, but they are giving you a good start without burdening you with loans, with repayments, but giving you strategic insights, as well as a network of other businesses that they already support, including the monthly check-ins that they were talking about, and you learning from other companies that they are supporting. So that's what they offer. Okay, so I think we have extracted enough from this discussion. So thank you so much, Lelemba, for being very frank and open in answering the questions. And like you said, no one-on-ones. For now, go to the website, apply. Once you are in the program, then they will have one-on-ones with you. They don't want a situation where you will say, but Lelemba said, when your application is not successful. Apply for yourself, put all the information in. Once you are in, then there'll be sufficient interaction. Let me call upon Hans. Dr. Hans Baliam-Jura is our finance and investment advisor on the program to give us closing remarks and share with you what else is on the horizon. Over to you, Hans.
Thanks, Golden, and thanks for the moderation. And a big thank you to Enygma Ventures, specifically Sarah and Lemba, for participating in this webinar. And of course, all the participants that have been on. I hope that you have all benefited out of this, and it will definitely contribute to your thinking around investments, whether you're applying with Enygma Ventures to be considered, or even for your future planning. I definitely believe there has been some education in the process, and we hope that we'll continue to see how best we can support. I really would, I would think that the other is to encourage you to continue attending our events as the USA Trade Hub. You can always access, I think the slide we just went past, if you could just go backwards, one slide back. I think one important piece is that we will always have our videos of the webinars that we hold, and this one will certainly be available on the platform once it's been edited and ready for presentation. But so you just keep checking, and it will be on that website of www.satihub.com, and you'll always find, and you can also find all the other webinars that we've held in the past. Could you have the next slide, please? I think upcoming webinars that we have on the 21st of April, we have a follow-up on a webinar that we had earlier with New Capital Africa, which we're referring to the New Capital Webinar 2. And this will also provide some guidance and tips towards anyone who is seeking to attract private or alternative capital into your businesses. So it would probably build onto what we've just had in this discussion. The other webinar that is upcoming is on the 29th of April, where we have an Albert Scott presentation 2, which is really a presentation on to the 6 USA Trade Hub presentation to the 6 project countries on the e-commerce opportunities via Albert Scott and Amazon.com. Would encourage you to attend these. I think these have really been beneficial, especially in the current times where our approach to the market has really changed and it's moved more into the electronic space or the e-market space. But other than that, one is to really to thank everyone for the participation and for the lively questions that you've had, and we will definitely continue to look forward. The other build-up that we would have is that in terms of your discussions or follow-up, we have a country representative in each of the countries, and that's currently showing on the screen now. So depending on which country you're from, you just have a look at that and you can always pick up your representative if you don't know them yet, just to follow up, or you can also send an email to any one of us that's been participating on this webinar, or even to this same link that you have, a webinar, an email, a text requesting for an email contact for your country rep, and we will respond and send that to you. Other than that, I would say thank you for your participation, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you very much.